Hey guys, what up? It is your boy T, and I am with my girl A.
Yo, what up?
And we are coming to you for 365 Horror Vlogs, the channel where we attempt to watch every single horror movie in existence. We are trying to be the #1 horror resource for you to find movies, watch movies.
Basically, the good, the bad, the horrific, the weird, all of it.
Exactly. Putting movies on your watch list. So, today we definitely have a movie that, and I'm going to have a little minor spoiler of this, but I definitely think you should put on your watch list, and that is 2007's The Girl Next Door.
You just think about that.
No! It is directed by Gregory Wilson, and it's based on the book Evil by Jack Ketchum. It's starring William Atherton, Blythe, Auffarth, and Blanche Baker. Okay, so this movie follows the unspeakable abuses and torture that you find done to this teenage girl while these boys basically sit and watch. It was a pretty brutal movie, so let's get into our first thoughts. So the first thing I'm going to cover in this movie is the amount of tension I felt, and I am going to say that this movie had an amazing amount of tension. You might not have really felt it as much as, like, let's say like a ghost movie or something like that, but it still created like a very palpable tension, especially in some of the escape scenes, even times when he would be talking to the girl kind of off to the side. It's just like you were always waiting for like the shoe to drop. You were always waiting for the next moment. So I did think that this movie like was quite successful in building like a good amount of tension. As far as the unsettling, I want to talk about how unsettled this movie left, kind of the creepiness. Now, again, you're not going to get the same creepiness as say like a horror, like a supernatural, exactly.
Or, yeah.
But nonetheless, this movie really leaves you with an unsettled feeling. It's not the type that makes me look over my shoulder, but it is the type that makes me just feel gross.
And like I just look at people in a different way.
Exactly, right? Like I feel gross that this kind of thing is actually going on. Yeah. It just made me feel gross. It really made me feel gross. I'm going to cover a little bit about the gore next. I didn't find this movie to be gory in the sense of like Terrifier, but I did. Okay, so put it this way. In the Terrifier, you get like a coochie cut. You get you remember the coochie cut.
I forgot about the coochie cut.
Nah. You get the coochie cut. You get like multiple stabbings, like brutal face stabbings.
Yeah, that was gross.
Yet I didn't look away. Yeah. And there was 1 or 2 parts in this movie that I literally looked away. And you don't even see what they're doing. It made me wince at the idea of it. Even some of the way, because this girl like is under horrible abuse, so there's certain kind of gore factors where you kind of just see her beat up with like snot and stuff. It really is quite visceral. Yeah. And even though you're not getting like this overtly blood splurting gore, it still was gross. Like the things they did were gross to this girl. So yeah, that's definitely how I felt about that. Next, I'm going to touch on some of the characters. I found this movie was really well acted. I found it was really good. I found the characters, like even their language. Sorry if this is triggering, but you know, the kids calling each other homos. It really did harken back to like a period piece like of 58. Yeah, man. Like you think about, full disclosure, I'm old. Full disclosure, I'm pretty old. So when I was a kid, we were calling each other homo and stuff like that. Yeah. So in the 50s.
In the 80s, right?
Yeah. Like, could you imagine the 50s?
Yeah,
like, and this
you
movie.
Don't care about none of that.
Oh, the characters encompassed it in this movie. There was just, like, even the sexism, it was just, like, there. Like even
very 50s.
Even in the people who were a lot more like not as sexist, it still felt, you just felt it.
Yeah.
Overarching the whole thing. I thought it was really well kind of acted in that frame. And with that, I'm going to move on to the story. I thought that the story of this movie was really good, man. Mm-hmm. It just was a very riveting story. The setting, it was definitely a period piece because it was released in 2007, Absolutely. But it was a 58 movie. Yeah. And again, the setting, the things they said, the way they talked, I just enjoyed. They did a really good job. Yeah, they did a good job. Like everything. The story was really good. It's really tragic and it kind of really sits with you. It was just overall a good movie. So with that, because these are just quick reviews telling you whether or not you should watch this movie, I am going to finish off with my final score on whether you should watch this movie. Maybe I should let you do the score first because you are the guest and I just talked for 5 minutes. So I'm gonna let my girl score it up. What did you think of this movie, and do you recommend it?
I would give this movie like a 4 to 4.5. I enjoyed the movie as a movie, right? The things that were done and said and done, that I didn't like enjoy it, but it was a very good movie for 2007 to be 2022, and it still
held up perfectly.
Like it was a good movie. I would watch it again.
Oh, me too. And aside from the fact that you can tell it has a little bit of a 2007 cinematography, like I just didn't feel some of the crispness in the shots. Like nowadays everything is so like
4K.
swoopy and it didn't have that, but I do feel like this movie held up. And so I myself am also going to give this movie a solid 4 out of 5, man. This was a great movie. I 100% think you should go out and watch this movie. It will be in this collection eventually. It was a good movie, man. It's one to own. It was a really good movie. Just very poignant and will definitely stick with me for a long time. Yeah, that's what we basically thought about it. Okay, so thanks a lot for joining us, guys, for the first part of this review. That is just your quick 5-minute, let's get it over with review to tell you whether or not you should watch this movie. And at the end of the day, I really do think you should. We're going to get into a little bit of a deeper discussion between the two of us where we have a lot of spoilers. If you don't want to be spoiled because you just wanted to come here to see if you should watch this movie, then peace out. And I think you should definitely bow out at this point because we're going to be talking about a lot. So see, whoever feels like staying or has seen the movie and want to see what we think, we will see you guys in the spoiler section.
Yes, and come back and let us know what you think after you've watched the movie. Because then you know all the spoilers anyway.
Exactly. And if you like these kind of reviews, just quick hits, definitely like, subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll see you in a minute.
Nothing in my life has been right since the summer of 1958.
Hey guys, welcome back. We are going to be covering the spoiler section of the 2007 release, The Girl Next Door. Again, we both did end up recommending this movie, but it was so deep, we definitely have to get into a little bit of a deeper discussion about it. So that is going to kick off right now. So tell me some of the stuff that you had about this movie that you thought was like crazy.
Yeah. For me, I felt it kind of started off slow. But I felt like that was on purpose. Right?
I felt like that was on purpose as well because you almost didn't even know about the abuse.
Yeah.
And I almost was questioning which character was it.
Abused?
Yeah, and
what's going on?
And I think that's actually a good important subtext because the point is you don't know who's getting abused and what the fuck's happening behind people's closed doors.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? So I found that was good too. I found that that was definitely the pacing, while slow at the beginning, definitely ramped up when you got to more into the abuse.
The mom was crazy.
The mother was insane.
Holy shit. She basically turned those kids into sociopaths.
Yes. That was what I thought this entire movie. I was like, yo, man, these kids are going to be fucking serial killers. She's literally making serial killers.
Yes.
And even the way the kids were starting to, even the way they just looked and watched, it was, I'm sad to say, it harkened back to a time when I saw shit that I shouldn't have seen.
Yeah.
And I was just mad fascinated, but it was fucking me up.
It was,
do you know what I mean?
You should not have seen that as a kid.
It was fucked up. And I also thought that was also important about the mom too, because I feel like there was a mental health sub story because she was messed.
But I think it's because the husband had left her with the kids, right?
And so now she
with
felt
the boys.
Yeah.
So then it's all of a sudden she doesn't like women. She was a weird, not feminist, but she was against women and wanted to almost corrupt these boys. Oh, it was just so weird.
It was really weird. And a small part of me also was wondering if, again, I feel like there was so many kind of subplots in this movie, especially being 2007, right? Because they just captured the period so well. I almost felt was she almost teaching boys what she thought they should be because of the periods that she grew up in, right? So she's have a beer, you're a man, have a beer, that's what they have, and she's almost pervertedly, twistedly guiding these children into this almost toxic,
these children.
Well, into this almost I was gonna say into toxic masculinity.
True.
Right? So
True.
that's misguided for sure.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So I also want to bring up the fact that in the 50s, you could basically do anything to kids.
yeah, kids were to be seen and not heard.
Exactly.
Hey man, I remember when I was a kid, like it was a thought that we could always have more kids. Right? Like I remember them stories about old school times, and it was like we could always have more kids.
Wow.
Yeah, it was cutthroat, man.
That's very
true. It was
true.
cutthroat.
But if a kid is gonna talk about abuse or sexual abuse, physical, emotional, their kids aren't gonna be believed ever. Like what they're gonna be looked at like, what did you do to cause it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of that victim blaming and stuff like that, which was just, it was so crazy in the film.
Yeah, it was not cool, and I actually felt it as well. Actually, to be honest, I even remember that when I was a kid, anytime I got in trouble, like if I was dragged home, it was always, what did you do?
Yeah.
The first question was always, what did I do?
Nothing.
You know
in
what
my
I mean?
life
And
has
that's
been
just
right
kind of how
since the
parenting was
summer of
back in the day. So
1958.
I can only imagine in the 50s how dismissive they were.
Exactly.
Like it was scary to think.
Yeah.
Like
but our parents grew up in the 50s, so
they
that
grew
makes
up
sense.
with that.
And then their parents grew up in like the 30s, right?
So
it was like worse and worse.
Exactly.
But it's getting
Displayed
better
a
and
rare
better.
innocence.
Yeah, hopefully we're progressing all the time.
Not even a goddamn elbow.
So I just want to add,
wait.
he wants to sleep over
there
gross.
again.
What,
The
next door?
branding
I'm
that
not-
happened.
my
There are
God.
two young
It was
girls.
really
like that
gross.
it was so brutal, and
Yeah.
you didn't like see it, but it was like.
Yeah. The
like
branding.
it was just disgusting. Oh
Living
my
in
The,
God.
the branding was bad,
I hear
and
about-
actually one of the
your
parts
cousin,
that made
yeah,
me
down by the
wince, which is
rock.
why I gave,
Cute too,
even though
ain't
there was
she?
like minimal gore in this
What's
movie,
that?
I got the gore score was when she like burnt her clit off.
Both parents died
Like
too.
that's so
I mean,
fucking
they must have
brutal.
died
Like that was
instantly.
so brutal.
I know that was.
They didn't even show anything, and I just was like, I was even wondering how they were gonna do it, and she just pulls out that blowtorch.
The blowtorch
I had
just
to
had
look
me.
away.
I was
I
like,
had to look away. It was too fucking
she
much.
just like burnt it off.
Yeah,
Sister
it was.
Oh my God.
love having her around.
Also, that it was the
Can't
worst.
worms.
Yeah, there
I'll
was
do
there
this
was
one.
elements of this movie
You can
that
do the
made
rest,
it
okay?
extremely disgusting.
Yeah.
Like
It was
extremely
disturbing.
disgusting. It was
a
disturbing for sure.
Yeah. Full disclosure, obviously, I'm a social worker. This is the worst case of child abuse I've ever seen
Really?
in my life. In my life. You have kids. I know this
Hates
is real, but you have kids watching as this girl is being abused and tortured. You know,
Nothing I ever do is
dies.
right.
Like
Doesn't
that's
sound like
that's
you're fine now.
crazy.
Honestly, I'd have to say now that I really think about it, although I've heard of a little bit more heinous acts done before,
Mhm.
like in books or movies, like A Child Called It. I don't know if you've ever heard of or read that story, but
Yeah.
that's another brutal child abuse story. I think the fact that she was so fucking negligent to the kids, like to the point where she was actually goading them on to become
Yeah.
these extremely evil, carefree, like she's feeding kids alcohol, and these kids aren't even like, I don't even think these kids are
They're
fucking
like-
teens.
Yeah, no, they're like
These are like 10 and shit.
12.
And she's just feeding them this, watching them do all these horrible things. Like she literally, it almost made me wish that they touched on what happened to those kids.
each child.
Yes,
and
like
how
if they did
grew
like
up
a
or
Stand By
something.
Me moment, because I guarantee all of them were fucked up.
Yeah.
Right? Like they were all like him. Because even when they show him in the final scene, you get it. Like he's just drinking
Like, oh,
himself
yeah.
into oblivion
Yeah.
every day because what he fucking went through.
Yeah.
Like the fact that she dies at the end is devastating.
Yeah.
Like
That
I don't
got
know.
me.
Like literally when the cops got
That
there, it was
had
on some
me.
miss
Like
shit.
that's yeah.
Like it was terrible.
So the mom was abusing the baby sister?
I know.
That's so crazy.
Honestly,
It
that was
nuts.
like honestly, that was one of the biggest twists of the movie. Even
Yeah.
though it didn't matter in the plot, but I just didn't see it.
No.
Right? Like the mom was doing like a bunch of sexual abuse. Like she was just messed from the beginning of this movie, man.
Yeah.
It was horrible. I couldn't believe it. And because that's at the part where she was like, "Oh, do you hate me? Does Meg hate me?" And
Yeah.
I'm the reason. I just didn't see that coming. Like it all was to protect her baby sister. It was super tragic. Super tragic
Wow.
and sad. It was
Wow.
super tragic and sad. So
So-
overall, what did you think?
So overall, I'm thinking that was a great movie.
Yeah, man, that
Like,
was definitely a good
yeah.
movie. And again, I guarantee you, watch this movie with a couple people around, and you'll definitely have something to talk about.
Yeah.
One of the nuggets that you'll have to talk about is the fact that this was based on a real case.
Yes.
which is insane.
Oh,
Like
my
that makes me.
gosh.
This makes me now. You know, sometimes I'm like on some like, oh, mind your business. But honestly, like, if you see some shit,
Yeah.
this is why you say
gotta
something. This is why you say something.
Yeah.
This movie is why you say something. Like, I can't believe it. Like, the fact that this is based on real shit is tragic.
Yeah.
And it definitely made for a sad movie that will stick with you for a long time.
Yeah.
So, well, that's going to do it for one of our first deep dive spoilers. If you stuck around this long, thank you so much to stick around with our thoughts.
Yeah.
And leave us what you thought about this movie, man. If you thought it was as crazy as we did, definitely leave us something down in the comments. All right, so I think we're going to get out of here. It is your boy T, and I got my girl A with me.
Hey.
And we are coming to you for 365 Horror Vlogs. Again, the channel where we attempt to watch every horror movie in existence, rate it, tell you about it, help you guys work on your watch list. And this is definitely one to add. See you next time. Peace.
You want to think about one thing, girl. Well, two things, actually. First, it could be your little sister hanging here instead of you.